The illusion of accumulation. In the ceaseless currents of our modern existence, we often find ourselves adrift on a sea of acquisition driven by an almost primal urge to gather, possess, and amass. This pervasive inclination, a deep-seated whisper in the human psyche, promises satisfaction, security, and a fleeting sense of completion. Yet beneath the shimmering surface of this pursuit lies a profound and often overlooked truth. The more we accumulate, the heavier our burden becomes, and the further we drift from the serene shores of inner peace. This is the illusion of accumulation, a captivating mirage that beckons us onward, only to deliver an emptiness far greater than any perceived gain. Consider for a moment the relentless pursuit of material possessions. From the moment we are capable of understanding, we are subtly yet powerfully conditioned to believe that happiness can be bought, that success is measured by what we own, and that identity is forged in the crucible of consumption. Advertising, a master sculptor of desire, ceaselessly paints vivid pictures of a life perfected by products, fostering a deep-seated belief that more inherently translates to better. We buy larger homes, fill them with more furniture, acquire more gadgets, and endlessly upgrade our devices, convinced that each new acquisition will fill a void within. However, this relentless cycle creates a never-ending treadmill of desire. The fleeting thrill of a new purchase quickly fades, replaced by a subtle disquiet, a restless urge for the next item, the next upgrade, the next perceived necessity. This isn't merely about the physical space these objects occupy. It's about the mental and emotional space they demand, the constant attention they require, and the subtle anxieties that accompany their acquisition and maintenance. Each item, no matter how small, adds a thread to the intricate tapestry of our material attachments, weaving a web that, while seemingly comforting, ultimately ensnares us. Beyond the tangible, the illusion of accumulation extends into the intangible realms of our lives. We accumulate responsibilities, commitments, social obligations, and even digital connections with the same unthinking fervor. We fill our calendars to overflowing, believing that a busy schedule equates to a meaningful life. We strive for more titles, more accolades, more recognition, convinced that external validation will somehow complete us. Yet these too become burdens. The sheer volume of commitments can lead to overwhelmed stress and a pervasive sense of being perpetually behind. The pursuit of external validation often breeds insecurity, as our sense of self becomes precariously tethered to the opinions and perceptions of others. We accumulate information, endlessly scrolling through news feeds and social media, believing that constant input makes us more informed, more connected. But often this leads to mental clutter, a cacophony of voices and opinions that drown out our own inner wisdom. The relentless intake of data without adequate processing or reflection creates a sense of mental fatigue, a spiritual exhaustion that leaves us feeling fragmented and disconnected. This constant striving for more is often rooted in a deep-seated fear of scarcity or a perceived inadequacy. We fear not having enough, not being enough, not doing enough. This fear, often unconscious, drives us to accumulate, to hoard, to cling. We believe that by accumulating more, we can buffer ourselves against life's uncertainties, create a fortress of security against the unknown. Yet this very act of clinging paradoxically amplifies our anxieties. The more we own, the more we have to lose. The more we commit to, the more we stand to fail. This fear-driven accumulation creates a perpetual state of vigilance, a subtle tension that permeates our being, preventing us from truly relaxing and experiencing the richness of the present moment. We become slaves to our possessions and our schedules rather than masters of our own lives. The psychological impact of this endless pursuit is profound. It fosters a pervasive sense of dissatisfaction and restlessness. Even when we achieve our goals of acquisition, the satisfaction is often fleeting, quickly replaced by a new desire, a new benchmark to reach. This hedonic treadmill ensures that true contentment remains perpetually out of reach. We become accustomed to a state of perpetual striving, where the joy lies not in the present moment, but in the imagined future fulfillment of a new acquisition. This incessant focus on the future, on what we lack, on what we still need to acquire, pulls us away from the inherent richness and beauty of our current reality. We miss the simple joys, the quiet moments of connection, the profound peace that can only be found when we are fully present and content with what is. The constant comparison with others, fueled by social media and societal pressures, further exacerbates this dissatisfaction. We see what others possess, what others achieve, and our own sense of enoughness crumbles, fueling the engine of further accumulation. Ultimately, the illusion of accumulation is a barrier to true freedom. Each item, each commitment, each unresolved thought becomes a chain binding us to a cycle of attachment and dependency. It is a subtle form of spiritual imprisonment where the bars are woven from our own desires and fears. To break free from this prison, we must first recognize its existence, to see through the shimmering facade of accumulation and understand its true cost. This recognition is the first step towards embracing simplicity and the profound power of letting go, two principles that offer a radical path towards genuine liberation and lasting peace. It is a realization that true wealth lies not in what we gather, but in what we are willing to release, not in the external world of possessions, but in the boundless inner realm of stillness and contentment. Having navigated the treacherous waters of the illusion of accumulation, we now turn our gaze towards the tranquil harbor of simplicity. Yet to truly grasp the essence of simplicity, we must first liberate ourselves from the common misconception that it is merely about the absence of material possessions. While a reduction in physical clutter is certainly a component, the true core of simplicity extends far beyond the tangible. It is at its heart a profound act of refinement and distillation, a deliberate process of stripping away the superfluous to reveal the essential, not only in our external lives, but more critically within the intricate landscapes of our inner world. Simplicity is not a rigid doctrine of deprivation or an ascetic denial of life's richness. It is rather a discerning art of choice, an intentional alignment with what genuinely serves our well-being and deepest values. To embrace simplicity is to cultivate a keen awareness of what truly enriches our existence versus what merely distracts or burdens it. This perspective transcends the superficiality of consumerism and delves into the very fabric of our being. It prompts us to ask what truly matters, what genuinely brings me peace, joy, and a sense of purpose, and conversely what consumes my time, energy, and mental space without offering genuine fulfillment. This inquiry moves beyond the superficiality of counting possessions and delves into the profound wisdom of discerning value. It's about consciously choosing quality over quantity, depth over breadth, and meaningful engagement over superficial distraction. Let's explore this refinement in three crucial dimensions: thought, emotion, and relationships. In the realm of thought, simplicity manifests as mental clarity and focus. Our minds are often cluttered with an incessant stream of worries, judgments, plans, and narratives. This mental noise, much like physical clutter, can be overwhelming, robbing us of inner peace and the ability to think clearly. Simplifying our thoughts doesn't mean emptying the mind entirely, but rather becoming aware of the patterns of thought, identifying those that are unproductive or self-defeating, and gently letting them go. It involves cultivating mindfulness, observing thoughts without attachment or judgment, allowing them to arise and pass like clouds in the sky. This practice allows us to disentangle ourselves from the incessant chatter, creating space for deeper insights, intuitive wisdom, and genuine understanding. It's about silencing the incessant internal monologue that often leads to anxiety and overthinking, and instead fostering a spaciousness where true clarity can emerge. When our minds are simple, unburdened by unnecessary mental baggage, we are better equipped to navigate challenges, make conscious decisions, and truly appreciate the present moment. This mental decluttering is a powerful form of liberation, freeing up cognitive resources that were previously consumed by noise and worry, allowing us to engage more fully with life. Next, consider the simplicity of emotion. Our emotional lives can be incredibly complex, often burdened by old wounds, unresolved conflicts, lingering resentments, and the constant striving for external validation. Emotional simplicity is not about suppressing feelings, but about acknowledging and processing them without getting entangled in their drama. It's about letting go of the need to constantly seek emotional highs or avoid emotional lows, and instead embracing the full spectrum of human experience with equanimity. This involves cultivating emotional intelligence, recognizing the subtle currents of our feelings without allowing them to dictate our reactions. When we simplify our emotional landscape, we release the heavy chains of attachment to certain outcomes or reactions from others. We stop clinging to resentment, fear, or anger, understanding that these emotions, when held onto, only serve to harm ourselves. This simplicity allows us to experience joy more purely, grief more authentically, and love more unconditionally, because our emotions are no longer clouded by past baggage or future anxieties. It's about allowing emotions to flow through us like water, rather than building dams to trap them, which inevitably leads to emotional stagnation and suffering. Finally, in the sphere of relationships, simplicity means cultivating connections that are authentic, nurturing, and free from unnecessary complications. In our interconnected world, we often accumulate a vast network of acquaintances, digital connections, and social obligations that, while seemingly enriching, can dilute the quality of our truly meaningful relationships. Simplifying relationships means focusing on depth over breadth, investing our time and energy in those connections that truly nourish our spirit and where genuine reciprocity exists. It involves letting go of relationships that are draining, toxic, or based on superficiality or obligation. This doesn't mean abandoning people, but rather setting healthy boundaries and understanding where our energy is best spent. It also means simplifying our expectations of others, letting go of the need for them to fulfill all our desires or fit into predefined roles. When relationships are simple, they are built on trust, respect, and unconditional love, allowing for open communication and true intimacy. This simplicity fosters a sense of genuine connection, free from the complexities of unspoken expectations or unaddressed grievances. The benefits of embracing this profound simplicity are manifold and transformative. The most immediate and palpable benefit is a profound sense of freedom. When we divest ourselves of the unnecessary, whether it's material clutter, mental noise, emotional baggage, or draining relationships, we create an immense space for growth, creativity, and genuine joy. This freedom is not an absence of responsibility, but a liberation from the burden of the superfluous. It's the freedom to choose how we spend our time and energy, the freedom to align our actions with our deepest values, and the freedom to simply be without the constant pressure to acquire or achieve. Furthermore, simplicity cultivates a deep and abiding inner peace. When our lives are uncluttered, our minds are quieter, and our emotions are more balanced, we naturally experience a sense of calm that is independent of external circumstances. This is not a fleeting sense of happiness dependent on transient pleasures, but a deep-seated tranquility that arises from within. It's a peace that comes from knowing what is enough, from being content with what we have, and from releasing the relentless striving for more. This peace is a wellspring of resilience, allowing us to navigate life's inevitable challenges with greater equanimity and grace. Ultimately, simplicity is a powerful path to self-discovery and authenticity. By stripping away the layers of what we think we should be, what society tells us we need, or what others expect from us, we begin to uncover our true selves. This process of unburdening allows our authentic essence to shine through unhindered by external pressures or internal conflicts. It enables us to live a life that is truly aligned with our deepest values and aspirations, rather than one dictated by external forces. This is the profound gift of simplicity, not merely a minimalist aesthetic, but a radical reorientation of our lives towards what is truly meaningful and ultimately what truly sets us free. It's a journey of profound awakening, one that reveals the abundance that already resides within us, waiting to be acknowledged and embraced. Having explored the profound nature of simplicity beyond mere materialism, we now turn our attention to an equally vital aspect of liberation, the courageous act of letting go of the self-imposed burdens. These are not external pressures, but rather the invisible chains we forge for ourselves, link by link, through our thoughts, beliefs, and habitual patterns. They are the expectations we place upon ourselves and others, the relentless need for control, the insidious habit of judgment, and the pervasive shadow of fear. These self-inflicted weights, often subtle and insidious, quietly accumulate, creating a profound sense of unease, anxiety, and an inability to fully embrace the vibrant tapestry of life. To truly simplify and find inner peace, we must first become acutely aware of these burdens, and then with gentle resolve, learn to release them. Let's delve into the insidious nature of expectation. From a young age, we are conditioned to set goals, strive for achievements, and anticipate specific outcomes. While intention and aspiration are healthy, an unyielding attachment to a particular expectation becomes a burden. We expect life to unfold in a certain way, people to behave according to our wishes, and circumstances to align with our desires. When reality inevitably diverges from these meticulously crafted mental blueprints, we experience disappointment, frustration, and even anger. This suffering arises not from the event itself, but from our resistance to it, from our clinging to an outcome that was never guaranteed. We impose these expectations on ourselves, demanding perfection, a tireless productivity, and unwavering composure. We expect others to meet our unspoken needs, to understand our minds, and to act in ways that validate our perceptions. The weight of these expectations creates a constant state of tension, a desperate attempt to control the uncontrollable. Releasing the burden of expectation doesn't mean abandoning goals. It means embracing the journey with an open heart, acknowledging that while we can influence, we cannot dictate. It's about cultivating a deep acceptance of what is allowing life to unfold naturally, and finding peace in the present moment, free from the tyranny of predetermined futures. Next, we grapple with the pervasive need for control. In a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain, the impulse to control our environment, our circumstances, and even other people is deeply ingrained. We meticulously plan, micromanage, and fret over every detail, believing that if we can just exert enough control, we can safeguard ourselves from discomfort, pain, or failure. This desire for absolute control is an exhausting and ultimately futile endeavor. Life, in its very essence, is unpredictable, a dynamic flow of change and impermanence. Clinging to the illusion of control generates immense stress, anxiety, and a profound sense of powerlessness when events inevitably deviate from our carefully constructed scenarios. We try to control the weather, the economy, the opinions of others, and even the course of our own aging bodies. This struggle against the inherent flow of existence is a source of immeasurable suffering. The burden of control manifests as a constant state of vigilance, a refusal to surrender to the natural unfolding of life. It's the rigid grip that prevents us from truly relaxing, from trusting, and from finding joy in the spontaneous dance of existence. Letting go of control is an act of profound courage and trust. Trust in the unfolding of life, trust in the wisdom of the universe, and trust in our own resilience to navigate whatever arises. It is not about becoming passive or irresponsible, but about discerning what is within our sphere of influence and what is not, and then gracefully releasing the latter. Another significant self-imposed burden is the habit of judgment. Our minds are tirelessly wired to categorize, label, and assess ourselves, others, and every situation we encounter. While discernment is necessary for navigating the world, pervasive judgment is a heavy weight. We judge ourselves harshly for perceived imperfections, past mistakes, or future anxieties. We judge others for their appearances, their choices, their beliefs, often without true understanding or empathy. This constant judging creates a divisive inner landscape where we are perpetually separating and evaluating rather than simply observing and accepting. When we judge, we create a barrier between ourselves and others, and between our current reality and an idealized notion of what should be. This mental activity consumes immense energy, fostering feelings of superiority or inferiority, resentment, and a pervasive sense of inadequacy. The burden of judgment often stems from our own insecurities, projecting our inner turmoil onto the external world. Releasing this burden involves cultivating non-judgmental awareness, a key principle in mindfulness. It means observing thoughts, feelings, in situations as they are without immediately labeling them as good or bad, right or wrong. It means practicing compassion for ourselves and for others, understanding that every being is on their own unique journey. When we let go of judgment, we open ourselves to deeper understanding, greater empathy, and a more authentic connection with the world around us. We release the mental effort required to constantly evaluate, creating space for acceptance and peace. Perhaps the most fundamental self-imposed burden is fear. Fear manifests in countless forms: fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of the unknown, fear of not being enough, fear of being too much. These fears often lie beneath the surface, subtly dictating our choices, restricting our actions, and limiting our potential. We cling to what is familiar, even if it is uncomfortable, out of a deep-seated apprehension of venturing into the unknown. Fear binds us to the past, replaying old traumas and anxieties, and projects us into a future filled with imagined calamities. It is the insidious voice that whispers doubt and hesitation, preventing us from taking risks, embracing change, or pursuing our dreams. The burden of fear is a constant state of contraction, a holding back from the fullness of life. It saps our energy, dims our enthusiasm, and keeps us locked in patterns of avoidance. Letting go of fear is not about becoming fearless, but about developing a courageous relationship with fear itself. It involves acknowledging its presence, understanding its roots, and choosing to act in spite of it. It's about cultivating trust in our own resilience, trust in the process of life, and trust that even in moments of uncertainty, we possess the inner resources to navigate. This process involves gently questioning our fears, recognizing which ones are genuine signals of danger and which are simply conditioned responses, echoes of old narratives. As we gradually release the grip of fear, we unlock an immense reservoir of inner strength, courage, and freedom, allowing us to step into life with greater openness and authenticity. The journey of letting go of these self-imposed burdens is not a one-time event, but a continuous practice. It requires self-awareness, a willingness to look deeply at our own thought patterns and emotional responses. It demands patience and compassion for ourselves, recognizing that these burdens have been cultivated over a lifetime and will not vanish overnight. It is a process of gentle unlearning, of releasing the tight grip on what we thought we needed to be or to have, and allowing ourselves to simply be. Each time we consciously release an expectation, a need for control, a judgment, or a fear, we lighten our load. We create space within ourselves for greater peace, clarity, and genuine joy. This act of releasing is an act of profound self-love, freeing us from the self-made prison of our own minds and opening the door to a life of greater ease, authenticity, and profound inner liberation. It's the sacred art of unburdening one breath, one thought, one moment at a time, until the lightness of being becomes our natural state. Having journeyed through the illusion of accumulation and begun the delicate work of releasing self-imposed burdens, we now arrive at a cornerstone of true liberation, the profound practice of detachment. Often misunderstood, detachment in a spiritual context is not a cold disinterest or a withdrawal from the world. It is rather a subtle yet powerful cultivation of non-clinging, a gentle loosening of our grip on outcomes, possessions, relationships, and even our own identities. It is the breath of true freedom, allowing life to flow through us without holding on to its currents or resisting its ebbs. This isn't about apathy, it's about boundless compassion and radical acceptance, understanding that true love and connection flourish not in clinging, but in the spaciousness of freedom. The prevailing societal narrative often encourages attachment. We are taught to hold on tight to what we value, to strive for permanence, and to fear loss. We become deeply attached to our comforts, our routines, our reputations, our achievements, and even our suffering. We cling to past glories, regret past mistakes, and anxiously anticipate future events. This clinging, however, is the root of much of our suffering. When we are attached, our inner peace becomes contingent upon external circumstances. If what we cling to changes, as all things inevitably do, we experience pain, disappointment, and a sense of loss. This is the fundamental insight of Buddhist teachings. Suffering arises from attachment. The impermanence of all phenomena means that anything we cling to will eventually change or cease to be, inevitably leading to a form of sorrow. True detachment, as taught in Buddhist philosophy, is not an absence of feeling or a lack of engagement. On the contrary, it is an enhanced capacity to engage fully with life, to love deeply, to experience joy profoundly, and to face sorrow with equanimity, precisely because we are not clinging. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you grasp it too tightly, it slips through your fingers. But if you hold it gently, openly, it remains. So it is with life. When we cling, we paradoxically push away what we seek to hold. When we are detached, we allow things to be as they are, recognizing their transient nature, and thereby experience them more fully and authentically. This nuanced understanding distinguishes spiritual detachment from emotional indifference. It implies a deep connection, a profound appreciation for life's gifts without the accompanying fear of their eventual departure. Let's explore the multifaceted dimensions of practicing detachment. Firstly, there is detachment from outcomes. We invest our energy, effort, and intentions into various endeavors, and it is natural to desire positive results. However, when our happiness becomes solely dependent on a specific outcome, we relinquish our inner peace to external forces. Practicing detachment from outcomes means doing our best, acting with intention and integrity, and then releasing the need for things to unfold precisely as we envisioned. It means trusting the process, understanding that while we can control our actions, we cannot control the myriad variables that influence results. This liberation from outcome dependence allows us to approach challenges with greater serenity, to learn from perceived failures without succumbing to despair, and to appreciate the journey itself rather than solely fixating on the destination. It fosters a resilience that allows us to bounce back from setbacks, knowing that our worth is not defined by external success or failure. Secondly, and perhaps most challenging, is detachment from self-identity and ego. We construct elaborate narratives about who we are, our roles, our achievements, our beliefs, our opinions. We cling to these identities, believing them to be our true selves. However, these are often fluid, constructed mental frameworks, not our fundamental essence. When our sense of self is too tightly bound to these external labels or internal narratives, any perceived threat to them can cause immense suffering. Losing a job, facing criticism, or simply aging can become deeply destabilizing if our identity is solely rooted in these external aspects. Detachment from ego is a profound spiritual practice, recognizing that our true nature is vast, unconditioned, and transcends any temporary identity. It is about understanding that who we are is not defined by our accomplishments or failures, but by the deeper consciousness that observes all. This doesn't mean becoming without a self, but rather having a self that is flexible, open, and not easily shaken by the winds of change. It allows us to be authentically ourselves without the constant need for validation or protection of a constructed image. Thirdly, detachment from material possessions extends beyond the physical act of decluttering. It is a shift in our relationship with objects. Instead of seeing them as extensions of ourselves or sources of happiness, we recognize them as tools, conveniences, or objects of beauty that serve a temporary purpose. We appreciate them without clinging to them, understanding that they are transient and will eventually wear out, or be replaced. This perspective liberates us from the anxiety of acquisition and the fear of loss, allowing us to use and enjoy possessions responsibly without becoming enslaved by them. It's about recognizing that our true wealth lies not in what we own, but in our inner state of being. Furthermore, detachment from opinions and approval of others is a vital step towards inner freedom. We often expend immense energy trying to control how others perceive us, seeking their validation or fearing their judgment. This external reliance for our sense of worth is a heavy burden. True detachment means cultivating an inner compass, a deep sense of self-worth that is independent of external praise or criticism. It allows us to act with integrity, speak our truth, and follow our path regardless of whether others approve or disapprove. This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or disregarding constructive feedback, but rather cultivating a stable inner core that is not swayed by the fluctuating tides of external opinion. It frees us from the exhausting dance of people-pleasing and allows us to live authentically. It's crucial to reiterate what detachment is not. It is not indifference or apathy. A truly detached person can feel deeply love fiercely and engage passionately with the world. The difference is that their engagement is free from the clinging, the desperate need for things to be a certain way. They experience emotions fully, but do not allow those emotions to define or overwhelm them. Detachment is also not an excuse for irresponsibility. It doesn't mean abandoning our duties or neglecting our relationships. Instead, it allows us to approach our responsibilities with a clearer mind and a lighter heart, unburdened by the anxiety of outcome or the weight of attachment. The path to cultivating detachment is through mindful awareness. It involves observing our clinging tendencies as they arise, the subtle tightening in our chest when something doesn't go our way, the surge of anxiety when faced with loss, the urge to control a situation. With gentle awareness, we acknowledge these patterns without judgment and then consciously choose to release them. This is a continuous practice, a gentle letting go moment by moment. It is like opening a clenched fist, slowly allowing what is held within to be free. The ultimate gift of the breath of detachment is profound freedom. It is the freedom from suffering caused by attachment, the freedom to experience life's rich tapestry without the constant fear of losing its threads, and the freedom to truly be, unburdened by expectations, unchained by control, and unswayed by the need for external validation. It allows us to move through life with a lightness of being, a spaciousness that creates room for joy, compassion, and an unshakable inner peace. This is the gateway to a life lived fully authentically, and without the heavy chains of clinging. Having explored the liberating power of detachment, we now seamlessly transition to a foundational practice that underpins both simplicity and letting go mindfulness. In a world that constantly pulls our attention towards the past and the future, mindfulness acts as an anchor, gently yet firmly rooting us in the present moment. It is the conscious cultivation of awareness, a deliberate attention to our thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations, and the surrounding environment, all without judgment. This profound practice is not merely a technique, it is a way of being that allows us to perceive the inherent sufficiency of our current reality, thereby diminishing the constant anxieties stemming from what was or what is yet to be. The human mind, by its very nature, is a time-traveling machine. It incessantly reviews past events, replaying conversations, reliving experiences, and dwelling on regrets or nostalgic memories. Simultaneously, it leaps forward, planning, anticipating, worrying about future challenges, and projecting desires. While planning and learning from the past have their place, an over-reliance on these mental habits pulls us away from the only moment we truly possess, the now. This constant mental oscillation creates a pervasive sense of inadequacy, as if the present moment is merely a stepping stone to a better, more perfect future or a lesser version of a more ideal past. This perpetual dissatisfaction is a heavy burden, hindering our ability to experience genuine peace and joy. Mindfulness offers a radical antidote to this mental wandering. It invites us to deliberately bring our attention to whatever is happening right now. This could be the sensation of our breath, the sounds around us, the feeling of our feet on the ground, or the taste of our food. By directing our awareness to these immediate experiences, we interrupt the automatic flow of regret and anxiety. We learn to observe our thoughts and emotions as they arise without getting entangled in their narratives. We recognize them as transient phenomena, not as absolute truths or commands. This non-judgmental observation is key. It allows us to acknowledge what is present without attaching labels of good or bad, thus fostering a sense of acceptance. Consider how mindfulness connects directly with the principles of simplicity. When we are fully present, the need for more, for external stimulation, or for constant distractions diminishes. The present moment, when truly experienced, reveals its own profound completeness. We realize that we already have enough. We already are enough. The simple act of breathing, walking, or drinking a cup of tea becomes an experience of richness and abundance, rather than a mundane chore to be rushed through. This appreciation of the ordinary is the very essence of living a simple life. It's not about lacking, but about finding fulfillment in the subtle details often overlooked in our hurried lives. The frantic search for happiness in external achievements or possessions begins to wane as we discover the wellspring of contentment within. Let's delve into practical applications of mindfulness that foster this deep connection to the present and enhance simplicity. Mindful breathing. This is perhaps the most fundamental mindfulness practice. Simply bringing your attention to the sensation of your breath, the cool air entering your nostrils, the gentle rise and fall of your chest, the warmth as you exhale. When your mind wanders, as it inevitably will gently guide it back to the breath. This repeated redirection strengthens your capacity for present moment awareness, calming the nervous system and creating a space of inner quiet. It's a powerful tool for instantly returning to simplicity amidst mental chaos. Mindful eating. How often do we eat while distracted, scrolling on our phones or watching television? Mindful eating involves engaging all our senses in the experience of food. Notice the colors, the textures, the aromas. Chew slowly, savoring each bite, paying attention to the flavors and the sensations in your mouth. This practice transforms an often unconscious act into a deeply nourishing and enjoyable experience, bringing awareness and appreciation to a fundamental aspect of life, thereby simplifying the act of consumption. Mindful walking. Instead of rushing from one place to another, turn your walk into a meditative practice. Feel your feet making contact with the ground. Observe the rhythm of your steps. Notice the sights and sounds around you without labeling or judging them. Feel the air on your skin, the sun's warmth. This simple act can transform a mundane commute into a moment of peace and connection with your environment, grounding you in the present and stripping away mental clutter. Mindful listening. In conversations. How often are we truly listening rather than planning our response or allowing our minds to wander? Mindful listening involves giving your full, undivided attention to the speaker. Notice their tone, their body language, the unspoken messages. This not only deepens your connections with others, but also keeps you anchored in the present interaction, reducing mental distractions and fostering a simpler, more authentic form of communication. The consistent practice of mindfulness has profound implications for our well-being. It cultivates equanimity, the ability to remain calm and balanced in the face of life's ups and downs. When we are mindful, we observe difficult emotions like anger, sadness, or fear as they arise, but we do not allow them to hijack our entire being. We create a space between the stimulus and our reaction, enabling a more thoughtful and compassionate response. This emotional regulation is a hallmark of inner peace and resilience. Furthermore, mindfulness enhances our capacity for gratitude. When we are truly present, we begin to notice the countless blessings and simple joys that often go unnoticed in our rush through life. The warmth of a blanket, the sound of birdsong, a kind word from a stranger. These moments, when fully experienced, become sources of deep contentment. This shift in perspective, from constantly seeking to genuinely appreciating, is a powerful antidote to dissatisfaction and a fundamental aspect of living a truly rich and simple life. Finally, mindfulness cultivates clarity and insight. By quieting the incessant chatter of the mind, we create space for deeper understanding to emerge. We become more aware of our habitual patterns, our unconscious biases, and the true motivations behind our actions. This self-awareness is crucial for making conscious choices that align with our deepest values rather than being driven by autopilot reactions. It allows us to see situations more clearly, unclouded by assumptions or preconceived notions, leading to wiser decisions and a more authentic engagement with life. In essence, mindfulness is the bridge to genuine simplicity and profound letting go. It teaches us that the wellspring of peace and contentment is not found in the acquisition of more, nor in the endless pursuit of a different future, but in the radical acceptance and full embrace of the present moment. It is the realization that in this very moment we are whole, we are enough, and we are free. By consistently bringing our attention back to the breath, to the body, to the senses, we gently unravel the knots of attachment and the burdens of self-imposed complexities, opening ourselves to a life of quiet grace and profound peace, lived fully one precious moment at a time. This is that unlock spiritual awakening that mindfulness offers, inviting us to delve into the depths of our own being and discover the boundless peace that resides there. As we deepen our understanding of simplicity and the gentle art of letting go, we arrive at a profound truth that often challenges our ingrained patterns, the art of non-resistance. This isn't about passive resignation or a lack of effort. Rather, it is a radical acceptance of what is, a compassionate surrender to the unfolding reality of each moment, free from the futile struggle against circumstances, emotions, or thoughts. Our natural inclination is often to resist anything uncomfortable, unpleasant, or contrary to our desires. We resist change. We resist difficult emotions. We resist opinions that differ from our own, and we resist circumstances beyond our control. This very act of resistance, however, is the primary source of our suffering, creating a deep internal conflict that exhausts our spirit and obscures our inner peace. Think of a strong swimmer trying to fight a powerful current. The more they struggle against it, the more exhausted they become and the less progress they make. In contrast, a wise swimmer understands the current respects its power and learns to flow with it, using its energy to move forward. So it is with life. The river of existence is constantly flowing, bringing with it a myriad of experiences, some pleasant, some challenging. When we resist the flow, when we fight against the currents of change, loss, or discomfort, we create friction, tension, and immense internal turmoil. This resistance manifests as anger, frustration, anxiety, and a pervasive sense of being a victim of circumstances. It's the mental argument we have with reality, the constant replay of "it shouldn't be this way," or "I wish things were different." This internal struggle consumes vast amounts of mental and emotional energy, leaving us depleted and far from the simplicity and peace we seek. To practice non-resistance is to cultivate a deep sense of acceptance. This acceptance is not an endorsement of undesirable situations, nor is it a call to inaction. It is simply the recognition that this moment is as it is. It is acknowledging the reality of a situation without adding the layer of mental and emotional judgment or struggle. For instance, if you are stuck in traffic, resistance manifests as anger, honking, cursing, and internal agitation, none of which changes the traffic. Non-resistance, on the other hand, is acknowledging, "Okay, I am in traffic." From this point of acceptance, you can then choose a wise response. Listen to music, call a friend, practice mindful breathing, or simply observe the surroundings. The external situation remains the same, but your internal experience is transformed from one of suffering to one of relative peace. Let's explore the profound ways non-resistance can be applied. Non-resistance to emotions. We often label emotions as good or bad. We cling to joy and happiness, trying to prolong them, and we resist sadness, anger, fear, or pain, trying to push them away. This resistance to so-called negative emotions only amplifies their power and prolongs their stay. When we resist sadness, it can morph into depression. When we resist anger, it can fester into resentment. The art of non-resistance to emotions involves allowing them to be. It means recognizing that emotions are transient visitors, sensations in the body, and thoughts in the mind, not the totality of who we are. When a difficult emotion arises, instead of fighting it, we can say, "Ah, here is sadness," or here is anger. We observe it, feel it without judgment, and allow it to pass through us. This compassionate acceptance paradoxically diminishes their grip and allows them to dissipate naturally, much like clouds in the sky. Non-resistance to people and their opinions. We often expend enormous energy trying to change others, to make them conform to our expectations or to convince them of our viewpoint. When they don't, we resist, leading to conflict, frustration, and broken relationships. Non-resistance in relationships means accepting people as they are with their unique perspectives, flaws, and strengths. It means letting go of the need to control them or to have them agree with us. It's about recognizing that everyone is on their own journey with their own karma and their own lessons to learn. This doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior, but rather accepting that you cannot change another person, only your response to them. This frees us from endless arguments and allows for more peaceful, authentic interactions, or the wisdom to gracefully disengage when necessary. Non-resistance to life's circumstances. Life is a constant dance of change, bringing unexpected challenges, losses, and uncertainties. Our default reaction is often to resist these shifts, to lament what was, or to fear what will be. We resist illness, aging, financial setbacks, or the end of a cherished phase. This resistance keeps us stuck in a state of victimhood and despair. Practicing non-resistance means embracing the truth of impermanence. It is accepting that life is a dynamic process and difficulties are an inherent part of its tapestry. When a challenging circumstance arises, instead of fighting it, we can ask, "What is this moment asking of me?" Or, "What can I learn from this?" This shift from resistance to inquiry, from fighting to embracing, empowers us to navigate challenges with greater resilience and wisdom. It allows us to adapt, to find new pathways, and to discover inner strengths we never knew we possessed. The benefits of cultivating non-resistance are profound. It is a direct path to inner peace. When we stop fighting reality, the internal struggle ceases and a deep sense of calm emerges. This peace is not dependent on external conditions. It is an internal sanctuary that remains unshaken by life's storms. It is a peace born of surrender, of aligning ourselves with the natural flow of existence. Non-resistance also fosters immense inner strength. Paradoxically, by letting go of control and accepting what is, we tap into a deeper wellspring of resilience. Instead of wasting energy on futile resistance, we conserve it and redirect it towards constructive action or compassionate self-care. This strength allows us to face difficulties with courage and grace, knowing that we have the capacity to adapt and grow. Furthermore, it cultivates wisdom. When our minds are not clouded by resistance, judgment, and fear, we gain clarity. We can see situations more objectively, understand their underlying dynamics, and respond with greater insight. This clarity allows us to learn from every experience, transforming challenges into opportunities for profound growth and understanding. We become students of life rather than its adversaries. The practice of non-resistance is a continuous act of mindful awareness. It involves noticing when the urge to resist arises, the tightening in the body, the racing thoughts, the surge of frustration, and then, with gentle compassion, choosing to soften, to breathe, and to accept what is. It is a moment-by-moment letting go of the internal argument with reality. This sacred art allows us to embrace the fullness of human experience, both light and shadow, with an open heart. It is the ultimate expression of simplicity, stripping away the complex layers of struggle and revealing the profound peace that lies within the simple act of allowing life to be. This is a vital step on the path to unlock spiritual awakening, inviting us to step into a harmonious dance with existence rather than a perpetual battle. As we journey deeper into the transformative power of simplicity and letting go, we encounter a particularly poignant and often challenging aspect: the release of grudges through the cultivation of compassion. A grudge, by its very nature, is a heavy burden, a persistent feeling of resentment or ill will resulting from a past insult, injury, or grievance. It is a tight knot in the heart, a constant replay of injustice, and a fervent wish for retribution or acknowledgement that often never comes. While the initial hurt may have been inflicted by another, the act of holding on to a grudge becomes a self-inflicted wound, poisoning our inner peace and blocking our capacity for joy. In the wisdom traditions, particularly Buddhism, it is understood that clinging to anger or resentment harms the one who holds it far more than the one who is the object of it. Imagine carrying a heavy, festering wound on your back, constantly aware of its pain and the injustice of its origin. This is akin to holding a grudge. We might believe that by holding on to this anger, we are somehow punishing the perpetrator or protecting ourselves from further harm. However, the reality is that the energy expended on nourishing a grudge, the mental rehearsals of arguments, the constant replaying of offenses, the simmering resentment drains our vitality, obscures our judgment, and keeps us tethered to a painful past. It traps us in a cycle of negativity, preventing us from moving forward with lightness and an open heart. The individual who was the object of the grudge may be entirely unaware or may have long since moved on, while we remain imprisoned by our own unforgiveness. The path to releasing grudges is paved with compassion. Compassion is not pity. It is a deep understanding and empathy for the suffering of all beings, including ourselves and those who have caused us pain. It is the recognition that every action, no matter how hurtful, often stems from a place of ignorance, fear, or their own unresolved suffering. When we cultivate compassion, we begin to see the humanity in the other person, acknowledging their own struggles, their own limitations, and the complex web of circumstances that led to their actions. This does not excuse harmful behavior, but it allows us to detach from the personal offense and to understand the underlying causes, thereby softening the grip of resentment. Let's explore the profound interplay of compassion and forgiveness in releasing the burden of grudges, understanding the roots of harm. Often when someone causes us pain, they are acting from their own place of suffering, unskillfulness, or ignorance. They might be driven by fear, insecurity, past trauma, or a distorted worldview. While this does not absolve them of responsibility for their actions, it helps us to see beyond the immediate offense and recognize the deeper patterns. When we understand that hurt people often hurt people, our anger begins to transform into a more expansive, though sometimes sorrowful compassion. This shift in perspective is crucial for loosening the knot of resentment, recognizing the self-inflicted harm. The most immediate and profound reason to let go of a grudge is for our own well-being. As the Buddha taught, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. The constant mental and emotional turmoil associated with grudges elevates stress hormones, compromises our immune system, and contributes to chronic anxiety and unhappiness. Releasing a grudge is an act of profound self-love and self-preservation. It is a decision to prioritize our own peace over the illusory satisfaction of vengeance or righteousness. The practice of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about condoning the offense or forgetting the harm. It is a conscious decision to release the emotional and psychological attachment to the past event and the person involved. It means letting go of the need for retribution, the desire for an apology that may never come, or the hope that the other person will somehow change to meet our expectations. Forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. It liberates us from the chains of anger and resentment. It is a process often requiring multiple acts of conscious release, particularly for deep wounds. It may involve acknowledging the pain, don't bypass the hurt, feel it, acknowledge its validity, understanding the other person if possible. Try to see their perspective, their limitations, or their own suffering. Making a conscious decision to release. This can be a quiet internal declaration. I choose to release this grudge for my own peace. Practicing compassion, extending kindness, even if only mentally, towards the person who harmed you, recognizing their own suffering. Cultivating meta-loving kindness meditation. This is a powerful Buddhist practice that directly builds compassion and aids in releasing grudges. It involves systematically sending wishes of well-being, happiness, and freedom from suffering to oneself, to loved ones, to neutral people, to difficult people, those we hold grudges against, and finally to all beings. When practicing metta towards those who have caused us harm, it is not about condoning their actions, but about acknowledging their shared humanity and their own suffering. This act of sending loving kindness, even if initially challenging, gradually softens the heart and dissolves the hard shell of resentment. It is a radical act of spiritual disarmament, the transformative power of release. When we genuinely let go of grudges through the lens of compassion and forgiveness, the benefits are immediate and profound. We experience a lightness of being, a renewed sense of energy that was previously consumed by resentment. Our minds become clearer, no longer clouded by anger and bitterness. Our relationships, both with others and with ourselves, become more authentic and less burdened by past hurts. We reclaim our power, no longer allowing past events or the actions of others to dictate our present emotional state. This act of releasing a grudge is a profound form of simplicity, clearing away the emotional debris that obstructs our path to peace. This journey of letting go of grudges through compassion is not always easy. It requires courage, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront our own pain. There may be moments of struggle, relapse, and renewed anger. However, each conscious act of choosing compassion over resentment, of forgiveness over bitterness, brings us closer to a state of profound inner liberation. It is a testament to our capacity for love and a pathway to reclaiming our inherent peace, allowing us to live a life truly unburdened and free. This is the essence of Zen stories that speak of the profound wisdom found in freeing oneself from the internal prison of unforgiveness. Having explored the compassion required to release grudges, we now turn to one of the most fundamental and liberating truths articulated in Buddhist teachings, the wisdom of impermanence, anicca. This profound insight recognizes that everything in existence is constantly in flux, subject to change, decay, and transformation. From the grand cosmic dance of galaxies to the subtle shift of our thoughts, nothing remains static. Our bodies age, seasons and change, relationships evolve, and circumstances shift with relentless certainty. While our minds often crave stability and predictability, clinging to the illusion of permanence in an ever-changing world is a primary source of suffering. Embracing impermanence, therefore, is not an act of resignation, but a radical act of liberation, allowing us to flow with life's currents rather than resist them, thereby cultivating profound peace and flexibility. Our innate human tendency is to seek solidity and security. We build homes, cultivate careers, form attachments, and define ourselves by roles and possessions, often unconsciously believing these structures will endure indefinitely. When illness strikes, when relationships end, when jobs are lost, or when our physical abilities wane, we experience profound distress, not just from the event itself, but from the shattering of our illusion of permanence. This resistance to change, this desperate clinging to what was or what should be, binds us to a continuous cycle of disappointment and sorrow. We try to grasp sand only to find it slipping through our fingers. The suffering arises not from the change itself, but from our refusal to accept its inevitability. The wisdom of impermanence invites us to observe the transient nature of all phenomena with open eyes and a quiet mind. Consider the simple example of a flower. We admire its beauty, its vibrant colors, its delicate petals. We know instinctively that it will not last forever. It will bloom perhaps for a few days or weeks, then wither and return to the earth. If we cling to the idea of its eternal bloom, we will suffer when it fades. But if we appreciate its beauty in the present moment, understanding its fleeting nature, its impermanence becomes part of its exquisite charm. The beauty is enhanced by its very transience, so it is with life's experiences. Joy is sweeter when we recognize its transient nature, and sorrow can be held with more compassion when we understand that it too will pass. Let's explore how embracing the wisdom of impermanence transforms our relationship with life, releasing attachment to outcomes. As discussed earlier, attachment to specific outcomes is a source of suffering. The principle of impermanence reinforces this. No matter how meticulously we plan or how ardently we desire a certain result, countless variables are beyond our control. The market shifts, people change their minds, unexpected events occur. When we deeply understand that all outcomes are impermanent and subject to change, we can exert our best effort, act with intention, and then gracefully release the need for things to be a particular way. This allows us to find peace in the process itself, rather than solely in the fleeting achievement of a goal. We become resilient, capable of adapting to setbacks and finding new paths when old ones close. Navigating loss and grief. Impermanence is most acutely felt in moments of loss, the passing of loved ones, the end of relationships, the loss of health or livelihood. These are undeniably painful experiences. However, when we have cultivated an understanding of impermanence, while the pain of loss remains, the added burden of resisting reality diminishes. We mourn, we grieve, but we do so with a deeper acceptance that change and separation are an intrinsic part of the human experience. This understanding allows us to move through grief with greater grace, eventually allowing us to cherish the memories without being perpetually bound by the pain of absence. It's the difference between being swept away by a wave and riding its crest, cultivating flexibility and adaptability. In a rapidly changing world, the ability to be flexible and adaptable is paramount for well-being. Clinging to old ways of doing things, outdated beliefs, or rigid identities in the face of evolving circumstances creates immense friction and frustration. The wisdom of impermanence encourages us to constantly learn, unlearn, and relearn. It fosters a mindset of openness to new ideas, new experiences, and new ways of being. This mental and emotional agility allows us to navigate transitions with greater ease, seeing opportunities for growth rather than just threats to stability. It transforms obstacles into pathways for innovation and resilience, deepening appreciation for the present moment. Paradoxically, recognizing impermanence allows us to appreciate the present moment more fully. If every experience, every relationship, every breath is fleeting, then each moment becomes incredibly precious. We stop taking things for granted. The simple joy of a sunny day, the warmth of a friend's laughter, the taste of a meal, these become profound experiences when we are acutely aware of their ephemeral nature. This heightened appreciation is a direct pathway to gratitude and contentment, reducing the need for constant external stimulation or the relentless pursuit of future happiness. This deep appreciation for the now, fueled by the understanding of its transient nature, is a profound element of Buddhist teachings. Releasing fixed self-concepts. We often construct a fixed image of ourselves based on past experiences, achievements, and failures. I am a successful person. I am a failure. I am always anxious. These fixed self-concepts become prisons limiting our potential for growth and change. The wisdom of impermanence reminds us that our identity is not a static entity, but a dynamic, evolving process. We are constantly changing moment by moment. Releasing the rigid grip on who we think we are allows for immense freedom, enabling us to learn from mistakes without being defined by them, to embrace new roles, and to continually redefine ourselves in alignment with our deepest truths. It allows us to be present with who we are right now, rather than clinging to a past version of ourselves or striving for a future ideal. Practicing the wisdom of impermanence involves a consistent and compassionate observation of life's flow. It's about noticing the changing sensations in our body, the arising and passing of thoughts, the ever-shifting weather, the growth of a child, the decay of a leaf. It is a mindful awareness that everything is in motion, nothing truly holds still. This realization, rather than inducing despair, cultivates a profound sense of peace and liberation. We learn to hold things lightly, appreciating them fully in their moment of existence, knowing that they will eventually pass. This is not about detachment from love or engagement, but detachment from the illusion of permanence in love and engagement. We can love deeply, fully knowing that separation is inevitable, and paradoxically, this allows for a purer, more present form of love. Ultimately, embracing the wisdom of impermanence is an invitation to live with radical openness and a deep sense of trust in the natural cycles of life. It frees us from the exhausting burden of trying to control the uncontrollable and allows us to dance with the flow of existence rather than fight against it. This acceptance of change, this profound letting go of our clinging to what is fleeting, is not a path to apathy, but to a vibrant, resilient, and deeply peaceful life lived fully in the ever-present moment. It is truly an unlocked spiritual awakening, allowing us to see reality as it is unclouded by our desires for things to be otherwise. As we continue our journey into the heart of simplicity and the art of letting go, we now turn our focus to one of the most intricate and impactful areas of our lives' relationships. Our connections with others, friends, family partners, colleagues, and even casual acquaintances are central to our human experience. Yet these very connections can become sources of immense complexity and suffering when burdened by unspoken demands, ingrained patterns, and most significantly, the heavy weight of expectations. To simplify our relationships is not to diminish their depth or significance. Rather, it is to liberate them from the chains of control and projection, allowing them to flourish in the fertile ground of acceptance, freedom, and unconditional presence. From the moment we form a bond, we often unconsciously begin to weave a tapestry of expectations around the other person and the relationship itself. We expect our partners to fulfill our every emotional need, our friends to always agree with us, our family members to behave in ways that align with our ideals, and our colleagues to always perform to our standards. We project our past experiences, our unfulfilled desires, and our perceived needs onto others, creating an idealized image of what the relationship should be. When reality inevitably falls short of these often unrealistic mental constructs, we experience disappointment, frustration, anger, and a sense of betrayal. The suffering arises not from the other person's actions, but from the gap between our expectations and their reality. This attachment to how things should be, rather than how they are, creates constant friction and prevents true connection. The illusion of control plays a significant role here. We often believe that if we can just fix or change the other person, or if they would simply meet our expectations, then our relationships would be perfect and our happiness assured. This leads to attempts to manipulate, persuade, or even coerce others, all of which ultimately push them away and erode the foundation of trust. True connection cannot be forced. It arises from a place of mutual respect and acceptance. Let's explore how letting go of expectations can transform our relationships. 1. Releasing the need for others to fulfill our needs. It's a common human tendency to seek validation, happiness, and a sense of completeness from our relationships. We look to our partners to make us feel loved, our friends to entertain us, and our family to provide unwavering support. While healthy relationships certainly contribute to our well-being, placing the entire burden of our happiness on another person is unfair to them and unsustainable for us. It creates an unhealthy dependency and sets both parties up for disappointment. Simplifying relationships means recognizing that our own inner well-being is primarily our responsibility. When we cultivate self-sufficiency and inner peace, we enter relationships not from a place of neediness, but from a place of wholeness, sharing our joy rather than seeking to extract it. This frees others from the immense pressure of fulfilling our every desire and allows for a more authentic and balanced exchange. 2. Embracing individuality and autonomy. Every person is a unique universe of experiences, beliefs, and aspirations. When we enter a relationship, we often unconsciously try to mold the other person to fit our preconceived notions, or we become enmeshed, losing our sense of individual identity. Letting go of expectations means honoring the other person's autonomy, their right to think, feel, and act as they choose, even if it differs from our own path. It means celebrating their unique qualities and respecting their boundaries, rather than trying to control their choices or force them into a mold. This creates space for both individuals to grow and thrive, fostering a relationship built on genuine respect and freedom rather than suffocation. This principle applies equally to ourselves within a relationship, letting go of the expectation that we must always conform or sacrifice our own needs for the sake of the relationship. 3. Letting go of shoulds and musts. Our minds are often filled with unspoken rules and expectations about how relationships should operate. A good partner should always know what I'm feeling. My friend must prioritize me above all others. These rigid shoulds create a framework for disappointment. True simplicity in relationships involves releasing these rigid mental constructs and embracing the dynamic organic nature of human connection. It means being open to how the relationship naturally unfolds, rather than trying to force it into a predetermined shape. This doesn't mean abandoning healthy boundaries or clear communication, but approaching interactions with an open mind and heart, free from the tyranny of idealization. 4. Practicing non-judgment and compassion. Just as we learned to let go of judgment of ourselves and circumstances, applying this to others in our relationships is crucial. We often judge others based on our own limited perspectives, their past actions, or our emotional reactions. This judgment creates distance and prevents genuine connection. By cultivating non-judgmental awareness, we can observe others' behaviors and words without immediately labeling them as right or wrong, good or bad. This allows us to respond with greater empathy and compassion, understanding that everyone is doing the best they can with the resources they have. This compassionate outlook softens our hearts and opens the door to deeper understanding and connection, even in moments of disagreement. 5. Communicating needs, not expectations. Instead of harboring unspoken expectations that inevitably lead to resentment, simplifying relationships involves clear, honest, and compassionate communication of our needs. There's a fundamental difference between "you should know how I feel" an expectation, and "I feel X when E happens, and I need Z," a clearly expressed need. When we communicate our needs directly and respectfully, we empower the other person to respond rather than leaving them to guess or fail to meet our unarticulated demands. This fosters genuine understanding and creates a pathway for resolution and growth rather than conflict and disappointment. The benefits of simplifying relationships by letting go of expectations are transformative. It leads to greater authenticity in our interactions as we connect with others as they truly are, rather than through the distorted lens of our desires. It fosters deeper intimacy born from acceptance and trust rather than the fear of not measuring up. It cultivates more peace and less conflict as we cease the futile struggle to control others or demand that they conform to our ideals. Most importantly, it allows us to experience unconditional love, a love that embraces the other person fully with all their imperfections, without the burden of conditions or quid pro quos. This is the profound wisdom offered by Buddhist teachings on interpersonal harmony. This process of letting go of expectations in relationships is a continuous practice, often requiring patience, self-awareness, and a willingness to look at our own conditioning. It's a journey of dismantling the mental constructs that keep us separate from others and inhibit true connection. As we shed these self-imposed burdens, we discover that relationships, when truly simple and free, become boundless sources of joy, growth, and profound shared experience, reflecting the effortless beauty of a life lived with open hands and an open heart. As our exploration of simplicity and letting go deepens, we encounter a fundamental principle that echoes throughout spiritual traditions, particularly in Buddhist teachings, the path of non-attachment to outcomes. This profound concept recognizes that while we are perfectly capable of influencing events through our efforts, intentions, and actions, the ultimate results are rarely, if ever entirely, within our control. Our happiness, peace, and sense of well-being often become precariously tethered to specific results, leading to immense suffering when life inevitably deviates from our meticulously planned scripts. Embracing non-attachment to outcomes is a liberating practice that fosters resilience, allows us to find peace in the process, and cultivates a deeper sense of trust in the unfolding of life itself. In our goal-oriented society, we are strongly conditioned to focus on the end result. We strive for success, measure our worth by achievements, and often define ourselves by what we accomplish. This emphasis on outcomes can be a powerful motivator, but it also carries a significant hidden cost. When our inner peace is contingent upon a specific result, a promotion, a perfect relationship, a certain amount of wealth, or the exact outcome of a project, we become vulnerable to the unpredictable nature of existence. Life is a complex interplay of countless variables, many of which are beyond our individual influence. Despite our best efforts, external factors, the actions of others, and unforeseen circumstances can significantly alter the trajectory of our plans. When this happens, our attachment to the desired outcome can lead to intense disappointment, frustration, anger, and a pervasive sense of failure, even if our effort was exemplary. The suffering arises not from the unmet goal itself, but from our internal resistance to reality and our clinging to a future that never materialized. The wisdom of non-attachment to outcomes invites us to shift our focus from the destination to the journey, from the end result to the quality of our actions and intentions in the present moment. It is about understanding and embodying the powerful distinction between effort and control. We can control our effort, our dedication, our integrity, and the choices we make. These are within our sphere of influence. However, we cannot control the weather, the economy, other people's decisions, or the myriad of complex factors that contribute to an outcome. To conflate effort with control is to set ourselves up for inevitable disappointment and to relinquish our inner peace to external forces. Let's delve into the practical applications and profound benefits of walking this path of non-attachment to outcomes. 1. Focusing on intentions and actions, not just results. The path of non-attachment encourages us to pour our full energy and presence into the actions themselves. Instead of constantly fixating on the outcome, we learn to derive satisfaction from the quality of our effort, the purity of our intentions, and the integrity of our choices. For example, if you are an artist, the goal is not solely the perfect painting or gallery show, but the joy and dedication in the act of creating. If you are a student, the goal is not just the A grade, but the sincere effort put into learning and understanding the material. This shift in focus empowers us as our effort is always within our control, unlike external validation or specific results. It fosters a deep sense of self-worth that is independent of external success or failure. 2. Cultivating resilience and adaptability. When we are attached to a specific outcome, any deviation from that path can feel like a catastrophic failure. This can lead to despair, giving up, or a profound sense of helplessness. Non-attachment to outcomes, however, builds incredible resilience. When a desired outcome doesn't materialize, instead of collapsing, we can observe what happened, learn from it, and adapt our approach without the crippling weight of personal failure. It allows us to view setbacks as information, as opportunities for growth and refinement, rather than as definitive judgments on our capabilities. This mental flexibility is crucial for navigating the inherent uncertainties of life, allowing us to pivot, innovate, and find alternative pathways with greater ease and less emotional turmoil. 3. Finding peace in the process. One of the most beautiful gifts of non-attachment to outcomes is the ability to find joy and contentment in the process itself. When the sole focus is on the end goal, the entire journey leading up to it can feel like a means to an end, a series of hurdles to overcome. But when we release the tight grip on the outcome, we free ourselves to fully engage with and appreciate the present moment of our endeavors. We can savor the challenges, learn from the struggles, and find meaning in the daily rhythm of our efforts. This transforms even mundane tasks into opportunities for mindful engagement and genuine satisfaction, leading to a richer and more fulfilling experience of life. This is a vital step toward unlock spiritual awakening, as it cultivates a deep appreciation for the unfolding present. 4. Reducing anxiety and stress. A significant portion of our anxiety and stress stems from worrying about future outcomes that are beyond our control. We spend countless hours imagining worst-case scenarios, replaying potential failures, and trying to mentally solve problems that haven't even arisen yet. The path of non-attachment directly addresses this. By consciously releasing the need to control or guarantee specific results, we free ourselves from this mental burden. We still plan and prepare, but we do so with a calm mind, understanding that we will adapt to whatever unfolds. This practice cultivates a profound sense of inner peace, as our minds are no longer consumed by hypothetical futures. 5. Cultivating trust in life's unfolding. At its deepest level, non-attachment to outcomes fosters a profound sense of trust in the natural order of things, trust in our own inherent capacity to adapt, and trust that even when things don't go according to our plan, life holds lessons and opportunities for growth. This is not a passive fatalism, but an active, conscious surrender to the larger flow of existence. It is the understanding that sometimes the universe has a different, perhaps better plan for us, even if we cannot see it in the moment. This deeper trust allows us to move through life with a calm confidence, knowing that we are supported regardless of external circumstances. This concept is beautifully illustrated in Zen stories, where enlightenment often comes from letting go of rigid expectations. The practice of non-attachment to outcomes is not a call to apathy or a dismissal of aspiration. It is rather an invitation to engage with life fully, passionately, and with complete dedication, while simultaneously holding our desires lightly. It means planting the seeds with care, nurturing them with consistent effort, and then trusting that the universe will provide the sunshine and rain needed for growth, even if the plant that emerges isn't exactly what we pictured. It's about recognizing that our peace and happiness are not external conditions to be achieved, but an internal state to be cultivated through the conscious release of clinging. By stepping onto this path, we free ourselves from the constant striving and the inevitable disappointments of a results-driven existence, embracing instead the profound liberation of a life lived with open hands and a heart at peace, regardless of what the future may bring. Having explored the liberating power of non-attachment to outcomes, we now turn our attention inward to perhaps one of the most pervasive and often unacknowledged burdens we carry: the incessant mental noise. Our minds are constantly abuzz with a cacophony of thoughts, replaying past conversations, planning future scenarios, judging ourselves and others, worrying, fantasizing, and creating endless narratives. This ceaseless internal chatter, often referred to as monkey mind in Buddhist teachings, can be incredibly draining, clouding our perception, fueling anxiety, and preventing us from accessing the profound peace and clarity that lie beneath the surface. The gift of simplicity in this context is the gentle art of letting go of this mental noise, cultivating a precious inner silence where true wisdom and tranquility can flourish. Imagine trying to appreciate the subtle melody of a beautiful piece of music while surrounded by a chaotic symphony of jarring sounds and incessant chatter. This is akin to trying to find peace amidst a mind consumed by noise. We often mistake this constant mental activity for productive thinking or a sign of intelligence, but much of it is repetitive, unproductive, and self-defeating. It's the incessant what if, the constant should have, the endless comparison, the internal monologue that judges every move and predicts every outcome. This mental hyperactivity consumes vast amounts of our energy, leading to mental fatigue, emotional exhaustion, and a pervasive sense of being overwhelmed even when our external lives are calm. The challenge lies in the fact that we are so accustomed to this mental noise that we often don't even recognize it as a burden. It feels like us, the very fabric of our being. However, by observing our minds more closely through practices like mindfulness, we begin to notice the patterns, the habitual worries, the ingrained criticisms, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and how life should be. These thoughts, when clung to, become heavy weights, obscuring our natural state of clarity and peace. The path to cultivating inner silence is not about forcibly stopping thoughts, an impossible and frustrating endeavor. Instead, it is about changing our relationship with them. It's about learning to observe our thoughts without getting entangled in their narratives, allowing them to arise and pass without judgment or attachment. This is where the power of mindfulness and meditation becomes profoundly transformative. Let's delve into how we can cultivate this precious inner silence. 1. Recognizing the nature of thought. The first step is awareness. Begin to observe your thoughts as phenomena distinct from your true self. See them as clouds passing in the sky, leaves floating down a stream, or cars driving by on a road. They are not you, and you do not have to engage with every single one. Recognize that many thoughts are simply habitual patterns, echoes of past experiences, or anticipations of the future, often disconnected from the reality of the present moment. This detachment from the content of thought is key to letting go of its grip. 2. The anchor of breath. The breath is our most immediate and accessible anchor to the present moment. When mental noise feels overwhelming, gently bring your attention to the sensation of your breath. The gentle rise and fall of your abdomen, the air entering and leaving your nostrils. As thoughts arise, simply acknowledge them without judgment and gently return your attention to the breath. This repeated compassionate return to the breath trains the mind to disengage from its habitual wandering and to find a point of stillness. It's a powerful way to reduce mental clutter and cultivate a sense of calm. 3. Meditation as a practice of observation. Formal meditation practice is an intentional setting aside of time to cultivate inner silence. During meditation, you sit quietly and observe your thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations without judgment. You are not trying to stop thinking. Rather, you are learning to witness your thoughts without getting caught up in their content. This practice gradually weakens the power of compulsive thinking and creates spaciousness in the mind. Over time, these moments of quiet observation extend into daily life, allowing you to navigate conversations, tasks, and challenges with greater clarity and less internal chatter. It is a profound form of Zen stories in action, a personal journey into stillness. 4. Disengaging from the storyteller. Our minds are masterful storytellers. They create elaborate narratives about our past, our future, and our identity. While some storytelling is necessary for meaning-making, much of it is driven by anxiety, fear, or a need for control. Cultivating inner silence involves disengaging from these unhelpful narratives. When you notice your mind creating a dramatic story about a past injustice or a future catastrophe, gently recognize it as just a story and choose not to feed it with further attention. This conscious disengagement starves the mental noise of the energy it needs to perpetuate itself. 5. Embracing impermanence of thoughts. Just like everything else, thoughts are impermanent. They arise, linger for a moment, and then pass away. Our suffering comes from clinging to them, replaying them, or allowing them to define our reality. When we truly embrace the impermanent nature of thoughts, we can observe them with a lighter touch, knowing they will eventually dissolve. This understanding helps us to let go of the need to analyze every thought, to solve every mental problem, or to believe every internal pronouncement. 6. Creating spaces of silence in daily life. Beyond formal meditation, actively seek out and create moments of silence in your daily routine. Put down your phone, turn off the music, and simply be with the quiet. Whether it's during a walk in nature while washing dishes, or sitting quietly with a cup of tea, consciously choosing to engage with the absence of external and internal noise trains the mind to find comfort in stillness. These small acts of simplifying our sensory input contribute significantly to cultivating inner silence. The benefits of cultivating inner silence are immense and transformative. It leads to a profound sense of clarity as the incessant mental chatter no longer obscures our true perception. We can see situations, problems, and opportunities with greater objectivity, leading to more insightful decision-making. This clarity allows us to access our inherent wisdom and intuition, which are often drowned out by mental noise. Furthermore, inner silence is the wellspring of genuine peace and tranquility. When the mind is quiet, the nervous system calms, and a deep sense of serenity emerges. This peace is not dependent on external conditions. It is an internal sanctuary that remains accessible even amidst life's challenges. It is the peace of simply being free from the restless craving for more or the anxious avoidance of what is. This peace is a direct path to unlock spiritual awakening. Finally, cultivating inner silence enhances our presence and engagement with life. When our minds are not distracted by internal chatter, we are fully present for our experiences, for our relationships, and for the beauty of the world around us. We can listen more deeply, observe more keenly, and connect more authentically. This full engagement with the present moment is the essence of a simple, meaningful, and richly lived life. Letting go of mental noise is truly a profound act of simplification, freeing up our internal landscape for the magnificent quiet dance of genuine existence. Having journeyed through the philosophical and psychological underpinnings of simplicity and letting go, understanding their profound benefits in cultivating inner peace, freedom, and clarity, the natural question arises: how do we translate these profound insights into tangible daily practice? This section will offer concrete, practical steps to begin integrating simplicity into your life, moving from abstract understanding to active embodiment. This isn't about rigid rules or instant transformation, but rather a gradual, compassionate process of intentional choices that gently prune away the superfluous and cultivate a life aligned with what truly matters. The beauty of simplicity is that it doesn't demand radical overhaul overnight. It begins with small conscious steps, a mindful awareness applied to various facets of our lives. Each deliberate act of simplifying, no matter how small, sends a powerful message to our minds and spirits, reinforcing our commitment to living lightly and authentically. Here are practical pathways to embody simplicity in action. 1. Declutter your physical space. The tangible first step, one of the most accessible starting points for embodying simplicity, is to address your physical environment. Our homes often become repositories for forgotten aspirations, unnecessary purchases, and emotional baggage. Physical clutter often mirrors mental clutter. Start small, be consistent. Don't attempt to declutter your entire home in one go. Choose one small area, a single drawer, a shelf, or a small section of a closet. The goal is completion, not perfection. Once that small area is clear, the sense of accomplishment will fuel further efforts. The keep, donate, to discard rule. As you go through items, ask yourself, does this bring me joy or serve a genuine purpose? For sentimental items, joy is the key metric. For functional items, purpose. Have I used this in the last year? If not, it's likely not serving you. 1 in, 1 out to prevent future accumulation. Adopt a simple rule. Whenever you bring a new item into your home, let go of an existing similar item. This creates a conscious pause before every purchase. Digital declutter. Extend this to your digital life. Delete unused apps. Unsubscribe from newsletters you don't read. Organize your files and clear out unnecessary emails. A clear digital space contributes to a clearer mind. This act of physical decluttering is a powerful metaphor for shedding mental and emotional burdens. As you release objects, you often release the stories, expectations, and anxieties associated with them. This is often where many Zen stories begin, with the practical embodiment of clearing space. 2. Simplify your schedule and commitments, reclaiming your time. Our calendars are often overstuffed, driven by a fear of missing out or a desire to be seen as busy and important. An overloaded schedule is a primary source of stress and exhaustion. Prioritize ruthlessly identify your absolute top 3 to 5 priorities in life, e.g., health, family, meaningful work, spiritual practice, then evaluate every commitment against these priorities. If it doesn't align, consider letting it go. Learn to say no gracefully. This is a crucial skill for simplifying your schedule. Understand that saying no to one thing means saying yes to something else that truly matters to you. Practice phrases like, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I'm not able to commit at this time," or "My plate is full right now, but I appreciate the invitation." Batch similar tasks, group similar tasks together, e.g., answer all emails at specific times, run all errands in one trip. This reduces mental switching costs and increases efficiency, freeing up mental space. Schedule white space. Intentionally block out time in your calendar for doing nothing, for reflection, for rest, or for spontaneous activities. This white space is essential for mental rejuvenation and creativity. 3. Cultivate mindful consumption, intentional choices. Simplicity isn't about deprivation, but about intentionality. This applies particularly to how we consume, not just material goods, but information, entertainment, and food. Be a conscious consumer. Before buying something, pause and ask, do I truly need this? Will it add genuine value to my life? Or is it a fleeting desire can I borrow or repurpose instead? Mindful media diet. Limit your exposure to excessive news, social media, and other digital distractions that create mental noise and comparison. Choose to consume content that genuinely informs, inspires, or connects rather than overwhelming or draining you. Schedule specific times for checking social media or news. Eat simply and mindfully, focus on whole unprocessed foods. Prepare meals at home when possible. Engage in mindful eating practices, as discussed in Section 5, to truly savor your food and connect with the nourishment it provides. This simplifies your diet and enhances appreciation. 4. Practice mindful communication, clarity, and authenticity. Simplify your interactions by focusing on clarity, honesty, and authenticity. Listen more, talk less. Cultivate deep, present listening, giving your full attention to the speaker. This reduces misunderstandings and fosters deeper connections, often simplifying complex relational dynamics. Speak directly and honestly, avoid passive-aggressive communication, gossip, or beating around the bush. Express your thoughts and feelings clearly and respectfully. This reduces mental and emotional baggage in relationships. Limit unnecessary drama. Consciously choose to disengage from conversations or situations that are driven by drama, gossip, or negativity. Your energy is precious. Protect it. 5. Embrace imperfection and self-compassion. Gentle unlearning. The journey to simplicity is not linear and will undoubtedly involve moments of resistance, reverting to old habits, or feeling overwhelmed. Be kind to yourself. Perfection is an illusion. There will be days when you feel overwhelmed or when you acquire something unnecessary. Don't judge yourself harshly. Simply observe, learn, and gently redirect your efforts. Self-compassion is key to sustainable change. Progress, not perfections, celebrate small victories. Each item decluttered, each unnecessary commitment shed, each moment of mindful presence is a step forward. Focus on the gradual progress rather than an idealized end state. Recognize your enoughness. Periodically pause and reflect on what you already have. Cultivate gratitude for the simple blessings in your life. This reinforces the understanding that you are already sufficient and your life is already abundant, reducing the urge for constant accumulation. Implementing these practical steps requires patience and perseverance. It's a continuous process of learning and unlearning, of gently letting go of ingrained patterns and embracing a new way of being. Each choice, each intentional release brings a profound sense of lightness and freedom, incrementally revealing the truth that genuine peace and contentment reside not in the complexity of endless striving, but in the profound simplicity of being present, accepting what is, and gracefully letting go of all that weighs us down. This is an active path towards unlocked spiritual awakening, grounding abstract wisdom in the concrete steps of daily living. As we integrate practical steps into our journey of simplicity and letting go, we arrive at a particularly potent and often arduous aspect, the profound act of forgiveness. This isn't merely a polite gesture or a fleeting sentiment. It is a powerful, intentional decision to release the emotional burden of past hurts, resentments, and the tight grip of regret. When we refuse to forgive either ourselves or others, we remain inextricably bound to the past, allowing old wounds to fester and poison our present moment. Forgiveness in its deepest sense is not about condoning harmful actions or forgetting injustices. It is about liberating ourselves from the internal prison of bitterness, allowing us to step into a future unburdened by the chains of what was. The human mind, in its default mode, often clings to grievances. We replay scenarios, mentally rehearse arguments, and hold on to a sense of righteous indignation, convinced that by preserving this anger, we are somehow protecting ourselves or ensuring that justice will be served. However, this clinging to the past, whether it's resentment towards someone who wronged us or profound regret for our own mistakes, is a self-inflicted form of suffering. It keeps us emotionally and psychologically tethered to the very events we wish had never happened. The energy expended on reliving past pain is immense, draining our vitality, clouding our judgment, and preventing us from fully engaging with the vibrancy of the present. This internal resistance to what happened is a heavy anchor preventing us from sailing towards the serene shores of peace. Forgiveness, therefore, is primarily a gift we give to ourselves. It is a conscious choice to prioritize our own well-being over the illusory satisfaction of holding on to anger or the desperate longing to change what cannot be changed. It is the recognition that while we cannot alter the past, we can choose how it impacts our present and future. This act of releasing the past is a profound form of simplicity, clearing away the emotional debris that obstructs our path to inner peace and liberation. Let's delve into the multifaceted dimensions of cultivating the freedom of forgiveness. 1. Forgiving others, releasing the gripper. When someone has hurt us, betrayed us, or disappointed us, the natural response is often anger, sadness, and resentment. Holding on to these emotions, however justified, keeps us emotionally entangled with the person and the event. Acknowledge the pain. The first step is not to bypass the hurt, but to fully acknowledge it. Feel the anger, the sadness, the disappointment. Suppressing these emotions only causes them to fester. Allow yourself to grieve what happened. Understand, but don't excuse. Try to understand the context or potential motivations of the person who caused harm. Often people act from their own pain ignorance or limited understanding. This understanding does not excuse their behavior, but it can create a space for compassion and reduce the intensity of personal offense. Separate the person from the action. Recognize that while an action may have been harmful, the person performing it is a complex human being potentially suffering themselves. This allows us to direct our anger towards the unskillful action rather than condemning the entire person. The intentional release forgiveness is a decision. It might be a quiet internal declaration: I choose to release my resentment towards person's name for my own peace. This may need to be repeated many times, especially for deep wounds. It's about letting go of the need for the other person to change, apologize, or suffer. It means releasing the hope for a different past. Boundaries, not bridges. Forgiving someone does not mean you have to reconcile with them, re-enter a relationship, or allow them to continue causing harm. Forgiveness is an internal act of release. Setting healthy boundaries is a separate, crucial act of self-preservation. You can forgive someone while still choosing to keep a distance for your well-being. 2. Forgiving ourselves. Liberating our inner critic. Perhaps even more challenging than forgiving others is the act of forgiving ourselves. We often carry immense regret for past mistakes, perceived failures, missed opportunities, or actions we deem unworthy. Our inner critic can be relentless, constantly replaying our missteps, leading to self-blame, shame, and a crippling sense of inadequacy. Acknowledge your humanity. Recognize that to be human is to be imperfect. Everyone makes mistakes, learns lessons, and has moments of unskillfulness. Self-compassion is paramount here. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a dear friend. Learn from the past, don't dwell, review your past actions, not to punish yourselves, but to extract lessons. What can you learn from this experience? How can you grow from it? Once the lesson is integrated consciously, choose to release the emotional charge of the event. Release the shoulds and if-onlys. The inner critic thrives on should have and if only. These thoughts keep us stuck in a hypothetical past that never existed. Practice mindfulness to gently bring yourself back to the present moment, acknowledging that the past is over and cannot be changed. Offer yourself compassion. Place your hand on your heart and mentally or even aloud offer yourself words of forgiveness. I forgive myself for action or mistake. I did the best I could with what I knew then, and I am learning and growing. This act of self-compassion can be profoundly healing. Embrace imperfection as a path to wisdom. True wisdom comes from embracing our flaws and learning from our mistakes. Forgiving ourselves allows us to integrate our past experiences as stepping stones to growth, rather than as anchors that hold us back. The profound benefits of embracing the freedom of forgiveness are immeasurable. It leads to a remarkable sense of lightness and emotional liberation. The heavy weight of resentment and regret lifts, freeing up immense energy that was previously consumed by past grievances. This emotional release cultivates a deep and abiding inner peace. As the constant internal conflict ceases, our minds become clearer, no longer clouded by bitterness or self-condemnation. This clarity allows us to see the present moment more objectively and engage with life more fully. Forgiveness also opens the door to healthier relationships. When we are no longer burdened by past hurts, we can approach new connections with an open heart and interact with existing ones with greater authenticity and less emotional baggage. It allows us to move forward to build and to connect without the shadow of old wounds dictating our present interactions. This is a core aspect of Buddhist teachings, emphasizing the liberation that comes from releasing clinging to the past. Ultimately, the act of forgiveness is a profound act of self-empowerment. It is a choice to reclaim our power from the past, from those who may have harmed us, and from our own self-condemnation. It is the realization that our peace is not dependent on what others do or what happened to us, but on our own capacity to release and transcend. This is a vital step on the path to unlock spiritual awakening, inviting us to shed the heavy cloak of the past and step into the radiant freedom of the present moment, ready to embrace life with an open, unburdened heart. Having meticulously explored the multifaceted principles of simplicity, letting go, mindfulness, non-resistance, compassion, impermanence, and forgiveness, we now arrive at the culmination of this profound journey, the experience of living lightly. This isn't an abstract philosophical concept, but a tangible, deeply felt state of being alive, characterized by effortless flow, profound joy, unwavering peace, and a pervasive sense of purpose and meaning. When we shed the burdens of accumulation, expectation, attachment, and past grievances, we naturally discover a lightness that allows us to dance with life's currents rather than perpetually struggle against them. This is the promised land of our spiritual exploration, a testament to the transformative power of these ancient yet timeless Buddhist teachings. Consider the image of a hot air balloon. When it is weighed down by heavy sandbags, it struggles to ascend, remaining tethered to the ground. But as the ballast is released one bag at a time, the balloon gracefully rises, effortlessly carried by the air currents reaching for the open sky. Our lives are much the same. The sandbags are our attachments, our expectations, our need for control, our unforgiveness, and the relentless mental noise. Each act of letting go, each conscious choice for simplicity, is like releasing a sandbag, allowing us to ascend into a lighter, more expansive state of being. What does it truly mean to live lightly? Firstly, it means living with unburdened joy. When our minds are not cluttered by constant striving, our hearts are not heavy with resentment, and our schedules are not overflowing with unnecessary commitments, there is an immense space for joy to arise spontaneously. This isn't the fleeting happiness derived from external achievements or transient pleasures. It is a deep, abiding contentment that springs from within, independent of circumstances. It's the joy found in the simple act of breathing in a genuine connection with another human being, in the beauty of a sunset, or in the quiet satisfaction of a task well done. This joy is not a goal to be pursued, but a natural byproduct of a mind and heart free from the weight of attachment. It's the ease that comes from knowing enough is enough, and that true abundance resides within. Secondly, living lightly cultivates an unshakable inner peace. This peace is not the absence of external challenges, but the presence of internal serenity, even amidst life's inevitable storms. When we practice non-resistance, when we accept impermanence, and when we forgive, our minds become quieter, our emotions more balanced. We are less susceptible to the turbulence of external events, because our peace is no longer contingent on them. This inner sanctuary, cultivated through consistent practice, becomes our refuge, allowing us to navigate difficulties with equanimity, grace, and a deep sense of calm, knowing that we are resilient and capable of adapting to whatever arises. This peace is the ultimate form of unlocked spiritual awakening, a liberation from the ceaseless mental struggle. Thirdly, it brings a profound sense of purpose and meaning. Paradoxically, by letting go of the need for external validation and the relentless pursuit of more, we connect more deeply with what truly gives our lives meaning. When our lives are simplified, we have more time, energy, and mental clarity to dedicate to activities that align with our deepest values, whether that's serving others, pursuing creative endeavors, nurturing meaningful relationships, or simply being present with loved ones. This clarity of purpose replaces the aimless striving of a cluttered life, leading to a profound sense of fulfillment that goes beyond superficial achievements. It's about living a life that feels authentic and aligned rather than one dictated by external pressures. Many Zen stories illustrate this idea, where profound meaning is found in the simplest of actions and the clearest of minds. Let's consider the tangible effects of living lightly on various aspects of our lives. Financial freedom. Living lightly often translates to financial simplicity. By desiring less, we consume less, reducing debt and financial stress. This frees up resources, not just money, but also mental energy, allowing us to live within our means and experience a powerful sense of financial liberation. Health and well-being. The reduction of stress, anxiety, and mental clutter directly impacts our physical and mental health. A lighter mind leads to a calmer nervous system, improved sleep, and greater overall vitality. The conscious choice for simpler, more wholesome consumption patterns further nourishes the body. Authentic relationships. When we let go of expectations and the need to control others, our relationships become more authentic and less fraught with conflict. We connect with people as they are from a place of genuine acceptance and love, fostering deeper intimacy and mutual respect. The relationships that remain are those that truly nourish and uplift us. Creativity and innovation. A mind free from constant noise and external pressures is a fertile ground for creativity. When we simplify, we create space for new ideas to emerge, for intuition to speak, and for innovative solutions to surface. This lightness allows us to approach challenges with fresh perspectives and a playful curiosity. Resilience in the face of changed life is inherently impermanent. When we live lightly, accepting change rather than resisting it, we develop an extraordinary capacity for resilience. Lost, setbacks, and unexpected transitions no longer completely derail us, but become opportunities for growth and adaptation. We flow with the currents, trusting our ability to navigate. The journey of living lightly is not a destination to be reached, but a continuous path of practice. It requires ongoing mindfulness, a willingness to observe our clinging tendencies, and the courage to gently release them. It's about making conscious choices, moment by moment, to prioritize peace over accumulation, presence over projection, and freedom over attachment. There will be times when we slip back into old habits, when the urge to acquire or control reasserts itself. In these moments, the key is not self-criticism, but gentle awareness, a compassionate return to the principles of simplicity and letting go. This path is profoundly empowering. It shifts our locus of control from the external world to our inner landscape. It teaches us that our peace, our joy, and our sense of fulfillment are not dependent on external circumstances, but are cultivated from within through the conscious choice to shed all that weighs us down. It is an invitation to embrace a life of effortless abundance, where enough is found not in what we gather, but in the spaciousness of what we release. This is the true essence of simplicity and letting go, leading to a life lived with open hands, an open heart, and an unshakable sense of freedom. It is the realization that the deepest riches are found not in what we hold onto, but in the boundless wisdom of what we release. We have journeyed through the intricate landscapes of simplicity and the gentle art of letting go, dismantling illusions, releasing burdens, and cultivating profound inner states. Now we arrive at the pinnacle of this exploration, the ultimate letting go. This is the culmination where simplicity and profound release merge into a state of deep spiritual awakening, inviting us to shed every remaining layer of conditioned existence, to embrace the boundless truth of the present moment and our true self. It is here that the Buddhist teachings converge, pointing towards a liberation that transcends all concepts and limitations. For much of our lives, we operate under the pervasive illusion that our identity is a fixed entity, a collection of our memories, roles, achievements, failures, beliefs, and even our name and physical form. We cling fiercely to this constructed self, fearing its dissolution, believing it to be the core of who we are. This clinging, however, is the final, most subtle burden we carry. It is the ego, the I, that incessantly tries to define, control, and protect itself, thereby creating a perpetual state of separation from the flow of life and from the unified field of consciousness. The ultimate letting go is the courageous act of releasing this rigid identification with the small s's, self-opening ourselves to the vast unconditioned expanse of our true self, our essential nature. Imagine a clear sky. Thoughts, emotions, and life events are like clouds passing through it. We often mistakenly identify with the clouds, believing ourselves to be the passing phenomena. The ultimate letting go is realizing that we are in fact the boundless, unchanging sky itself, the witness, the awareness, the pure presence that observes all, yet is untouched by any of it. This profound realization is the essence of unlock spiritual awakening. Let's delve into what this ultimate letting go entails. 1. Letting go of all concepts about yourself. Our minds are brilliant at categorizing and labeling. We tell ourselves stories like, I am a successful person, I am a shy person, I am a parent, I am a failure. While these labels serve practical purposes in the world, when we rigidly identify with them, they become prisons. The ultimate letting go involves observing these concepts as they arise and recognizing them as temporary constructed ideas, not the totality of our being. It means understanding that who we are at our deepest core transcends any role, any achievement, or any perceived flaw. This liberation from self-definition creates immense inner spaciousness, allowing us to be authentically present in each moment without the constant need to uphold an image or fulfill a predetermined role. It's the profound wisdom found in many Zen stories where the student sheds layers of understanding to finally see. 2. Embracing the nakedness of the present moment. When we shed the layers of past regrets, future anxieties, and self-identifications, we are left with the sheer unadorned reality of the present moment. This is the only place where life truly exists. The ultimate letting go is a radical acceptance of this moment, exactly as it is, without wanting it to be any different. It means embracing all sensations, sounds, sights, thoughts, and emotions as they arise without judgment or resistance. It's the cessation of the internal argument with reality. In this pure presence, free from the mind's incessant interpretations and demands, we discover a profound peace and completeness. There is nothing to achieve, nothing to fix, nothing to change, just the vibrant, unfolding perfection of the now. 3. Surrendering to the flow of existence. The ultimate letting go is an act of profound trust in the inherent wisdom of life's unfolding. It is a surrender not to fate, but to the natural rhythms of existence, understanding that every moment, every experience holds a lesson or serves a purpose, even if we cannot perceive it with our limited minds. It means letting go of the need to control every outcome, every detail, every person, and allowing life to move through us. This surrender brings an incredible sense of ease and grace. We stop pushing against the currents and instead become one with the flow, moving effortlessly through challenges and embracing opportunities with an open heart. This is living fully in the understanding of impermanence. 4. Discovering the unconditioned true self. When we diligently practice letting go of all that is not essential, the external possessions, the emotional burdens, the mental noise, the fixed self-concepts, what remains is our true self. This is the consciousness that observes the stillness beneath the mind's activity, the loving awareness that is our fundamental nature. It is unconditioned, unchangeable, and boundless. It is pure presence, pure love, pure wisdom. This discovery is not an intellectual understanding, but a direct experiential realization. It is the profound truth that you are already whole, already complete, and already perfect, exactly as you are. All the striving, all the seeking, all the accumulation were simply distractions from this inherent perfection. This is the true meaning of Buddhist teachings on emptiness, not a void, but a boundless fullness free from conceptual limitations. 5. Living with openness and vulnerability. When we release the need to protect a constructed self, we become profoundly open and vulnerable. This vulnerability is not weakness, it is immense strength. It allows us to connect with others on a deeper level, authentically without masks or pretenses. It allows us to embrace life's joys and sorrows with equal grace, knowing that our essential nature remains untouched. This openness creates a life of genuine connection, profound empathy, and fearless engagement with the world. The path to the ultimate letting go is not about reaching a static state, but about a continuous conscious choice in every moment. It is the ongoing practice of mindfulness, gently observing our attachments and releasing them. It is the unwavering commitment to returning to the present moment again and again. It is the deep recognition that true freedom lies not in gaining more, but in releasing all that weighs us down, allowing our inherent light to shine brightly. This ultimate letting go is the gateway to a life lived in a state of continuous spiritual awakening. It is living from a place of profound peace, boundless joy, and effortless wisdom. It is recognizing the sacredness of every moment, the interconnectedness of all beings, and the infinite potential that resides within. It is the realization that the search for happiness outside ourselves is a futile endeavor, for true contentment and liberation are found when we simply let go of everything and surrender to the magnificent truth of who we already are. This is the timeless message of simplicity and letting go, leading us home to our true self, a state of perfect completeness and unwavering peace.